What does life look like without fear? Another question shared in Question Week of my Christian fellowship group back home. Shout outs to Rodham. And again, I think it's an interesting topic for me to talk about while I'm away from home. What does life look like without fear? Well, first let's try to understand what fear is. Why are people fearful? When do you feel afraid? Well, if you ask me, it's uncertainty. It's not knowing what's going to happen. And naturally, when people are uncertain, when you don't know what will happen, you think, what is the worst thing that can happen? Right? It's like bungee jumping. That's scary to a lot of people. Because at some level, it's uncertain. You know, they've never done it before. How long am I going to fall? Is the rope going to break? Am I going to die? And because they're not sure, they think about the worst case scenario. And what's the worst case scenario? They're going to die. So that's why they're afraid. But fear is something that's natural in everyone. You can't just remove fear. Because people are people. It's a trait that people have by nature. And it helps us survive things, right? Like if I'm afraid of a lion, for example, I'll know not to get near a lion. So the lion doesn't kill me, so I survive. I'm afraid of heights, for example, right? So I don't go near high places. So I don't risk falling, so I don't die. That's what fear kind of is. And you can't take that away. So asking the question, what does life look like without fear? No one can answer that. Because everyone has some form of fear of something. But I actually think fear is what makes life interesting. I think a life without fear would be boring. It won't be as interesting. Think about it. If you don't have fear, then you also don't have courage. You can't be brave. If fear doesn't exist, then bravery doesn't exist. And things are very satisfying when you're brave. So for example, let's go back to the example, bungee jumping. If you're afraid of bungee jumping, but you did it, and you survived, how would you feel? Would you feel very satisfied, very accomplished, very exhilarated? You feel proud of yourself. You have another sense and another layer of confidence about yourself. But that is only because you overcame the fear, which is you being brave to bungee jump. Or let's say something that I personally can relate to back in the day, when I used to do kickboxing. You're jumping in the ring with somebody that wants to hurt you, that wants to knock you out. Sometimes he's a bit taller than you, sometimes he's got a bit more muscle than you, sometimes he might be a bit quicker than you. And what makes it worse is that while you're waiting for your fight, and you see the fights that come before you, sometimes you see the injuries, right? You see people coming in with like a bandaged up face, or maybe a broken nose, or a broken leg, or a dislocated joint, whatever. You see them coming in before your fight, and your brain automatically goes, oh, that could happen to me. That could happen to me tonight. That could have been me. And that makes you afraid. But there's a fight. And despite being afraid, I did it anyway. I fought anyway. I overcame that fear. And by overcoming that fear, I had so much confidence after the fight. Whether I won the fight or not doesn't matter, because you've made yourself a stronger person by overcoming that fear, by getting in the fight despite knowing what could happen to you. And that makes you stronger as a person. That gives you more mental resilience. But if fear doesn't exist, you won't become that better person, will you? You'll just cruise on life. Everything will be easy. And if everything is easy, what's the point? It's boring. You play a video game, and if the video game is easy all the time and you got free stuff, it's boring. People won't play it for long. But if it's hard, sometimes you die, sometimes you have to restart, there's equipment that you have to spend a lot of time getting. That's what keeps people playing the game, because it's challenging, it's engaging. And that's what fear does to life. It makes your life challenging. It makes it engaging. And by overcoming it and going to the other side of fear, that is how you become a better person. The person that you want to be will always be found on the other side of fear. So without fear, then you just be the same person all the time. You won't improve. You won't need to overcome anything. And what's the fun in life in that? So I think we should be really thankful for fear, because without fear would be very boring. Fear is what makes us a better person, and fear is what makes a strong person different from a weak person. It makes the difference between a person that wants to grow and a person that doesn't want to grow. Fear gives us opportunity to become better. So I think life without fear would be terrible, because we won't have to overcome anything and life will be boring. So next time you feel fear, think about that. You're afraid of the worst case scenario, and that is the absolute worst case. Chances are you're probably not going to die. But when you come out on the other side, you will become a better person, because every time the next fear comes along, you will remember the last time you overcame that fear and use that experience to overcome this fear. And then you've used these experiences to overcome the next one. And you become a stronger person over time. So I thank God that fear is instilled in us, because that's what makes life interesting. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.